to be a contender for Donald Trump's running mate this November, is responding to the backlash over a story in her new book. It's a story about shooting her puppy.
I'm not a political expert, but I think if I had to give a politician advice, I would say the top thing is to not shoot your puppy. The second top thing would be to not write about shooting your puppy. Nobody forced her to tell anybody these stories. These are the stories she chose to tell to seem tough for the MAGA base. By the way, was No Going Back supposed to be the title? Or was that what her editor said when they read this section? Are you sure you want this in? There's no going back. I mean, what were the alternate titles? For God's sake, don't include this.
The Bidens did the right thing because they did have a dog that was biting certain Secret Service members, and so they rehomed their dog. They didn't shoot their dog, right?
She comes off unhinged at this point, Kristi Noem, because on top of this, her saying she would kill Commander, and the White then says, say hello to Cricket for me. Cricket is her dog that she put down. How cruel is that?
I'm proud of him about how tough he is and how well he is doing.
Did you bring up the dog?
Yes, enough, Stuart.
Did you
this
bring
interview
up the dog
is
with Trump?
ridiculous what you were doing right now. So you need to stop. It is.
Okay.
It is.
We'll
Let's
stop.
talk about some real topics that Americans care about.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
The truth on what's wrong with politics, and I think part of the problem with politics today is that politicians aren't honest with the American people. So if you asked me a month ago, who's at the top of the list to run with Donald Trump, I would have said your name.
Right.
If you asked me that same question this morning, I don't even think you're on the list.
Really?
Damn.
I'm sorry.
I really love that she thinks she still has a shot. I mean, she had a shot. She used it on her dog. And not only did she admit to shooting her pets, she also lied about meeting Kim Jong-un.
I'm saying that this book is very, very good, and I've met with many world leaders.
And she's met with many world leaders, none of them being Kim Jong-un.
You know, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes.
Yes. Yes, that's why her book, No Going Back, is now called Going Back and Making Some Changes.
You issued a retraction. You said that it shouldn't have been in the book, this passage, that it was a mistake. Why shouldn't it have been in the book? Is it untrue?
When it was brought to my attention, and I asked the publisher if they would remove the name, and they did.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. When you posted pictures and video of yourself recording the audiobook. When you recorded your own audiobook, you didn't notice
I'm
this
not going to discuss about my meetings with world leaders.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you about recording the audiobook.
Did you want to talk about something else today?
No, I just wanted to know. I mean, we're just trying to get a straight answer from it. This has been...
Well, you did. I mean, and I took responsibility for it.
She wasn't going there.
No, I don't. Good job. You're one of the few I've seen who actually pressed her in the proper way and cross-examined her on trying to get her to actually ask or answer the question asked.
Well, it's only because
She's
I
doing
wrote
terribly,
a book and I recorded the audiobook, and I remember that happens months before the book comes out, and I remember seeing her post that picture and video of herself, and I was like, wait a second, all this, like, we just found out. It's like, no, you read it.
The simple question, did you or did you not meet with Kim Jong-un? And colleague Cole put together this compilation across all these different interviews to this question.
Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, you know, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage, and I've met with many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I'm not going to. I don't talk about my conversations with world leaders.
Kim Jong-un. Did you meet him?
I've been to the DMZ. I've been to North Korea.
Answering a question that wasn't asked, did you meet Kim Jong-un? I went to the DMZ.
I should not have put that anecdote in the book. That I'm not going to talk about my meetings.
But an anecdote indicates that it happened, right?
I asked for the content to be changed, and it has been.
Governor, I'm not asking you about the details of this alleged meeting. I'm asking if the meeting actually happened. I don't think it did.
I'm not going to talk about my conversations
You're going
with
to
world
continue
leaders.
to have to answer this question then.
You made the point to bring him up twice, and that he was a little tyrant.
Do you have a question for me, Margaret?
Yes, I do. South Korea is a treaty ally. North Korea is a nuclear-armed adversary. So that's a pretty big thing to confuse.
Now the governor's claiming that she's the victim.
You're a victim.
Of a lying mainstream media that's always twisting and manipulating the truth. Now, you wrote the book.
Tonight, the governor's team is admitting that the story is not true. Kristi Noem never actually met with Kim Jong-un.
Got him. We fucking got him.
Today, Colorado's Jefferson County Republicans announced they have canceled Governor Noem's fundraiser tomorrow, supposedly for safety reasons.
Jeffco Republicans initially embraced the controversy to sell tickets to their event. The president of Jeffco Republicans bemoaned the fact that now they're stuck with 300 copies of Kristi Noem's book.
Now that her book, No Going Back, has been released, there are even more questions about the content.
For instance, on several shows, Noem repeatedly touted her experience.
Well, I think you need to remember, Margaret, and everybody needs to remember that I've worked on ag policy and federal policy for over 30 years. My time in serving and making policies in this country has been extensive and covered decades. You know, I've traveled for years. I've been involved in policy for almost 30 years.
If Noem is 52 years old, that means she was 22 when she was, in her words, shaping policy, she told Fox News. Noem's political career began 17 years ago when she was elected as a state lawmaker in Pierre. She hit the national stage 13 years ago when she won a seat in Congress. Another questionable claim, Noem told interviewers that South Dakota's reservations are a hotbed of activity for the drug cartels.
But we have the cartels set up in South Dakota, and they are set up in South Dakota.
How do you know that?
Because I've seen pictures of them. Our investigators have interacted with them.
Tribal presidents strongly deny this allegation. One tribal leader called it fear-based politics. Both the South Dakota U.S. Attorney's Office and the South Dakota Attorney General's Office failed to confirm the cartels are active in South Dakota.
After several controversial appearances, Governor Kristi Noem has abruptly ended her book tour.
One time I actually read the book, and the author, the person whose name is on the book, cancels, blames the weather. I don't believe it.
According to Fox and other media, Noem's staff blamed the weather for those last-minute cancellations. This morning, she posted on X about snow and thunderstorms in South Dakota, saying she's monitoring the situation and will be ready to respond. But the graphic and radar were already more than 24 hours old when posted. This afternoon, she went back online to give people an update on the weather in South Dakota.
At any rate, every dog has its day.
She canceled the interview, cited the weather. It just looks so bad.
That's not wrong, and I was almost late to this interview because I just had a great one-on-one with Kim Jong-un. I may have. It's hard to know for sure, and I won't talk about it.
So it's not particularly surprising that she ended up being the subject of an SNL skit.
So you're here to defend Kristi Noem?
Of course! She's a great owner. She's a great dog owner. All this stuff about killing animals is just media spin.
Wow, so you're Team Kristi.
Team Kristi for life, for my very long life.
She wrote it, read it, endorsed it, and tried to sell it. She got caught because she didn't think that the rest of us were smart enough to figure out it's a big deal to meet with Kim Jong-un.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
Yeah. It's a very small collection of Americans who have done it, and some no-name congresswoman from South Dakota, which is what she was at the time, would not be on the list. Did that because she wanted to mislead us, which is par for the course now for this woman. She's been exposed. She went on a crime spree. She killed the dog. She killed the goat. She killed 3 horses that day, and she bragged about it and then lied when she realized us normies weren't too pro all the murders. And he knows she's a loser.
She's a loser. She's a loser.
And who, by the way, not for nothing, Elizabeth, but the weird extra oomph of the glam that she's doing is also not helping her. She's got about as much truth in that head of hair as she does in that book she's trying to sell.
Kristi Noem. I have never seen anything like her meltdown. Shooting a dog? Good Lord. She's as dead as that goat and that dog politically. The only reason you could bring it up is either you're tone deaf or more likely she thought it was going to get out.
She wrote it.
Yeah. Maybe that was a part of her memory she should have erased.